on my tablet.
It's not like they've been updated at all. It's August 14th.
Well, I haven't.
Matt's in here.
We are live.
I haven't looked. All right. Oh, fuck it.
Well, no, like just until I say the thing where we do this, the cutting.
Fuck it.
We'll
That's
do it
your
live.
motto.
Fuck it.
That's your motto, sir. Tattoo it on your forehead. The bum's lost. The bums will always lose.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and take any rug in the house.
I have serious Lebowski withdrawals. I got to watch that movie again. That's your answer to everything.
I'd watch that movie. Well, Tyler, I'm putting you after Marty. I don't know if you have show notes yet or not, but
I don't. I had to enter the Wi-Fi password on my tablet because I haven't used it since I moved in. So
it's
cool. Don't hold the show up on my behalf. You were ready to launch the show without me, so.
Well, it's always a mystery who we get to show up every week. So I don't know. I guess we could start. Let's get started.
Scoozy.
Yeah, we're waiting on you for that. You have the first line.
We need your help.
Literally just killing time. I'm just killing time while Tyler gets his internet situation remedied.
The internet situation is remedied. It's the Google Doc situation. It's good though. I can wing it. I wing everything.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot.
He can wing it. Who says he can't wing it? I want their names.
No, I have the utmost confidence in his winging it ability. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 94 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, August 21st, 2017. We need your help.
Already? I'm Tim. I'm a sports shooter, father of 3, and owner and operator of Tim's Good T-shirts. They're quite good, and I'm also a proper-handed descendant of beer-drinking immigrants.
All right, I'm Marty, hunter, sports shooter in rural southern Ontario. That's
it? Really? I'd like to think Marty's a bit more of a complex person than that. I'm a little disappointed in that intro, but I'm Tyler. I'm also a hunter and sports shooter in, I guess, Middle Ontario, we can call it. Happy to join the panel again after a long hiatus because I've been busy earning them tax shekels to support leftists.
You 1,000 bastard children.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm your host. I'm a recovering libertarian and Jesus. As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback, or you can email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. The edited version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
As always, you can check out the podcast at Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get the uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 per episode, and the more you pledge, the better the rewards are.
All right, let's go into what are we drinking. This is the part where we talk about what we're drinking. Let's start with Tyler. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking ice cold Miller Genuine Draft.
Right on. Marty, what are you drinking?
Sailor Jerry's and Coke Zero.
Tim, what are you drinking?
Drinking a good mix of Moosehead Lager, Rickard's Red, and Heineken.
Is that like, did you pour them into a single chalice, or is it like one at a time kind of a thing?
Actually, oh my God. I had my load shifted in the rear of my sport utility vehicle on the way home, and I opened up the rear hatch because that's where you have to keep beer in Canada. And my freaking 8-pack of mixer fell out, and like 2 cans burst. So like I swore aloud, and then I like raced into the house, and I had to mix. I got 3/4 of the Heineken into a glass, and then I was able to get about a third of a can of Killen and Alt, which is a locally made beer. It's actually just about like 5 minutes from our gun range, and I poured that in. So it was interesting because it was like, you know, Moosehead on the bottom, and then not Moosehead, Rickard Heineken on the bottom, and then dark on top. So
are we targeting new demographics with this show? Are we targeting new demographics with this show? Because Tim's like using new buzzwords like shifting loads in his rear end.
No,
just had to ask.
We're not doing that. And I'm not promoting diversity either.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if it was like a black and tan. You know, because you got to keep those people in line.
I heard a great parody song of "Come Out You Black and Tans" today. You guys probably heard it already.
I'll have to look into that.
We'll discuss that in the post show.
We should. I was going to say we should offer that to Patreons, but no, we probably just should not record that because it's libelous. All right, let's talk about some things that have gone on recently. Tyler, you and I are up first because we did that Tough Mudder thing, and by that I mean I dragged you down for 6 hours.
It did take a surprisingly long amount of time to complete, but there's a lot of uphill. It's a very tough course. For anybody who doesn't know what a Tough Mudder is, if you've been living under a rock in a cave on Mars with your eyes shut and your ears plugged, it's a very popular, not competitive, but just kind of like a challenging obstacle course. The couple thousand, I think it's up to 20,000 people participate in the Toronto one every year. And, they hold them all over North America, the UK, Germany. Pretty sure there's an Australia one too, maybe a couple others in like mainland Europe. But, it's a lot of fun. And it's all for, while they, without a doubt, make money, they also donate a portion of the proceeds to veterans charities. So in the end, it's all for the troops, as we say. And it was a good time. It's a very challenging ordeal. And this was Andrew's first time out. This was my 10th. So I earned that special black headband.
Nice.
And, I didn't invite Andrew to come do this with me just so I could leave him behind. I'm a little bit more experienced doing these things than he is. And, I'm happy to say that at no point did he stop or quit. So, well done. How did you feel about it?
I had a game plan. I stuck with it. I had resigned myself to completing the course unless someone physically removed me, so to speak. And I made an effort at each of the obstacles, even though I had also kind of resigned myself to the fact that I knew there'd be obstacles just based on the course description that I would not be able to physically complete, so to speak. So it was long and slow.
So you have an option. You have the option to just not do the obstacles, or
yeah, every single obstacle has a bypass.
So I opted to at least make an effort at each obstacle. I made an attempt at all of them, and with the help of my my other Mudder teammate people, because it is not a race, it is a team activity. Leave no Mudder behind and all that good stuff.
You've already forgotten your oath. Part of your oath is it is not a race but a challenge.
It was certainly a challenge, and it did live up to its name. It was both tough and muddy.
And the other part of the oath is, I will help my fellow Mudders complete the course. You can tell I've recited this multiple times.
Yes, you seem like you've done this more than once.
He's indoctrinated.
I don't know if this is I don't know if this is a pain point, but you want to discuss maybe one or two that you opted to not.
Yeah, there's one thing I want to talk about with the oath at the very beginning of the course first that I thoroughly appreciated, and then I will be happy to talk about the obstacles and how that went. Was the very beginning they do the pep talk, and the man with the funny mustache and the bulgy pants gets out and does his thing, but they take 2 minutes. They have everyone face a flag and they play "O Canada," and they play the gender correct version of "O Canada." It was very moving. I was quite energized to run. Naturally. We're in the English-speaking part of the country, which is the 80% of the country by landmass that isn't the French-speaking part. So I thought that was
one thing that was missing this year, and that may just be because this is an MC for the launch, like the launch corral or whatever you want to call it. He's new. I've never seen him before, and like 7 or 8 of the other ones that I've done, it's been the same guy. And what he's always done is made sure to take a moment, because a ton of veterans run these things, to have everybody who is not a current or former service member take a knee, and then everybody gives like a cheer or hoorah or whatever for those who have served. Like the event was definitely like more oriented around the troops than at least this particular one does. And it might have just been like a line in the guy's game plan that he skipped over because he was new and nervous or whatever. But I did notice that was missing, and a bit of a shame, really, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have been another thing that had it happen. I would have thought it was a good thing to have done. I was just impressed that at a public venue, semi-public venue, that they were actually playing the national anthem, because this is not something that's commonly done frequently enough, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when was the last time you were out at anything where you bought a ticket and they played the national anthem and everyone took 2 minutes and looked at a flag?
Yeah, with the exception of sporting events, that's about it.
Well, even then, I mean, the vast majority of the sporting events, they have some nonsense person come and butcher the anthem.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
I mean, yeah, that's that. But let's on to Marty's question. So obstacles that you opted out of.
I wouldn't say I opted out of any. There were some that I failed to complete in the prescribed manner. 50% of the Berlin Wall, which is a 10-foot vertical wall. Maybe a little more than 10 feet, Tyler?
Yeah, I would say it's probably, between 9 and 11 feet anyway. It really depends on how worn away the ground is at the bottom of the wall. But to describe the obstacle, you basically have a wall of, considerable height, single 2x6 bolted maybe 20 inches above the ground. And so that means that you have like 1.5 inches of bearing on this thing. And you need to kind of run up to it and time your steps so that as you are able to get, the ball of your foot on that 2x6, you still have forward momentum to throw your body up against the wall, and then simultaneously reach towards the top of the wall. And then using only your upper body strength and your arms to, you need to get your body weight up and over that wall. Now, it is a team sport, so if you cannot complete it, 100% on your own, then that's what your fellow mutters are for. Either guys at the top helping pull you over, or people at the bottom giving you more footing to get up there. So, I mean, that's the way most people do it.
Yeah. So there were 2 walls, of which I made it over one of them. So I'll take that. There were some other upper body strength obstacles that definitely caused me a problem, although I did make the attempt. I have no idea what there was a Legionnaire and a regular class obstacle. Legionnaires are for the experienced, well-built, trained people like Tyler. What was that one with the upside-down monkey bar over the platform ledge thingy that you did?
It was called Stage 5 Clinger. So you have a platform that you have to get on top of, and what you have to do is you have to climb up a set of rungs that, it's probably only like maybe 10 feet in the air. But then they have rungs on the underside of the platform that you then have to traverse, like monkey bar style. And then once you get to the edge of the platform, now you have to go from bars underneath the platform to getting your body on top of the platform with very little to grab onto. It's it's very, very like upper body intensive to accomplish that. Most of the people that I saw complete it while we were there were cheating by using the actual supports of the platform to, push off of.
Cheating is a strong word, but yes, they were using, again, they weren't completing it in the prescribed manner.
Mm-hmm.
It's called gaming, I think it's the...
It's called gaming.
Yeah, failure to do right. Failure to do right.
That's right. 10-second penalty all the way around. The non-Legionnaire version of that is just an incline set of 2x4s. So it's a reverse incline at not quite 45 degrees. So you're crawling upwards and backwards, and then doing the same pull-up action over the ledge. And I lack the upper body strength to successfully complete more than one pull-up at any given time. So I opted to not fall on my ass and gently, sort of in a controlled manner, fall on the ground instead. Similarly,
well, my 3D waifu did it with us too, and that was one she also couldn't complete.
That's right. I have as much or less upper body strength than Tyler's 3D waifu. So, there was some other stuff that was pretty good. The balls to the wall one, I did complete. It was a climb up a wall with a rope in front of it, but there were, I don't know, mounts for your feet, something to grip against your feet with every 4 feet. So if you could get up to the next one and sort of shuffle your way up. Sorry, what's that?
So you have something to get some purchase on to.
Yeah, so as long as you could like pull your upper body up a couple of feet at a time and then get your feet onto the next little purchase and worm your way up the 4 or 5 iterations to get up and over and then back down the other side in sort of a, I went with the controlled fall method on the way down again.
Seems to be
that's how you do it properly.
Yeah, I controlled fold frequently and with vigor throughout the weekend. What was that very last water stage with the green water? The Funky Monkey? Something like this?
Yes, the Funky Monkey Revolution, because this is a new spin on it. The old Funky Monkey was just you go on monkey bars, but they go up at like a 30-degree angle, and then you reach the peak, and then they go down at a 30-degree angle. Now, like keep in mind that for every single obstacle, every gripping surface is wet and muddy. So while monkey bars may seem, fairly easy in those conditions, and at the end of a 16-kilometer course, not so much. Now, in this case, what they've done is you go up monkey bars that are like a 30-degree angle or so. Then once you get to the top, you have to grab a wheel that's mounted horizontally and just like off of being level, so that when you grab one side, the wheel rotates and starts to spin you. And then you have to transfer it to another wheel that's mounted vertically, and then from there to another wheel mounted vertically, and then from there to a rod dangling on chains. It was very challenging, and I fell off while grabbing the second wheel, I believe. Normally that's something that I complete, but yeah, didn't make it.
I didn't get nearly as far as Tyler did. You made it all the way to the second wheel. I made it almost to the end of the monkey bars. There was not many, 10 rungs maybe.
Yeah.
I just got to the point where like the shoulder wouldn't move, where I'm like, I know if I let go with either hand, I'm going to fall in the thing. The thing is bright green and probably very cold. This is about to suck really badly. And then it sucked really badly.
Yeah, it was not a nice day.
It was not an especially nice day, but I'm happy I completed the course. I made an effort at all of the obstacles. I would say I completed half of them, give or take. I liked towards the end where it became more of a mental issue for if you can complete the obstacle or not, and less of a physical like, oh good, I have to do another pull-up.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Arctic Enema one sucked, but it wasn't hard. So it's just like a vat of very, very cold water. I think in the morning it starts out as ice water, but by the time that I got there, it was definitely all just melted.
Yeah, well, so it was quite cold, but
it was still very cold, and it was like slide down a slide, plunge into 4 foot of water, of ice water, and then you have to completely submerge yourself to go under a barricade to get to the part of the tank that you can exit. Not difficult, doesn't really require any swimming.
In previous events, they've just had the water just packed with ice, and depending on like where you are in your wave and like how long it's been since the last stragglers of the previous wave made it through, there can be like 6 inches of like semi-solid ice cubes on the upper surface of it. So I think what they've done now is they have pumps and a refrigerating trailer, and they just refrigerate the water. So because it really surprised me that, you know, at midday when we were going through that thing, there wasn't a single piece of ice. So I think they've just changed up their methods. When the first one I ever did, which as it turns out was like 5 years ago today, or 5 years ago a few days ago, they had a front end loader with its bucket full of ice, and as we were in the first wave, as we were approaching it, it just tipped its bucket. So we're all coming down the ski hill, and we're just seeing, like, you know, 2 cubic yards of ice just get dumped into this water. It was cold. It was very cold.
So
yes, I mean, good on you guys for doing it. It sounds like a terrible time.
Well, you know, there's another thing that was missing from the MC's intro, his little pep talk, was the other guy that who's done most of the ones that I've done. He always asks, when was the last time you did something for the first time? And, you know, when it comes to an event like the Tough Mudder, it's something most people would look at. They'd look at like YouTube videos of the course and, you know, people's GoPro videos and stuff, and they just immediately say, yeah, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. But the course is full of people that had to be talked into doing it, and most of them completed the course.
Yeah, I don't think it was especially difficult course. I mean, provided you're a relatively mobile person, I think most people would be able to successfully walk it and complete some of the obstacles, particularly the team-based stuff where it's easy to work with 2 or 3 other people to shimmy up a surface or climb over logs. There was some that was just like body weight stuff. There was one part where it was like 100-meter fireman's carry of another participant, and then you switched. Like, that stuff wasn't difficult. Yep. There were some that were, I think, more technically challenging, like the Everest. So you're running into like a half pipe,
a quarter pipe,
like skateboarding. Quarter pipe? Yeah, I guess it would be a quarter pipe. It's only the one side, but it's slick plastic. So there's no purchase on it, and it's 14 feet tall. So there's no way that you can throw yourself up it. You have to get the momentum and run and get purchase on the top of it and hope that other people, in my case, can pull your fat ass over. That was another one that I made 2 valiant efforts at and skinned both of my knees and decided I have made 2 attempts. I will walk around. Because I couldn't get high enough up for anyone to pull me over successfully.
Yeah, you're gonna want that surface friction when you need to climb up a quarter pipe.
Right. That was.
Yeah, you know, I should have coached you a little more on some of the tricks to conquering an obstacle like that. One of the mistakes most people seem to make that I've run with in the past is, you know, there's like, you know, 100, 120 guys at the top. You know, 2 or 3 of them will have their hands extended, you know, waiting for, you know, the next mudder to make an attempt and try and help them up. And at that point, your target becomes their hand and not the top of the quarter pipe. And so it messes with you a little bit with the timing of your steps and when you decide to kind of just like lunge forward and stop running. You know, like you basically want to just look straight at the quarter pipe and run straight at it.
So,
and just keep going until you fall, pretty much.
Yeah, live and learn. There was a couple that didn't do well. The mental ones were all, I mean, from my perspective, they were all relatively easy because, I mean, Marty's right. It sucked. Like, this sucked. And I think that's the reason a lot of these people ran it, because we don't, like, as a society, as North Americans, as Canadians, we don't do things that suck. We live in air-conditioned houses and we drive air-conditioned cars and we work in air-conditioned offices. We don't do things that are, we don't do things that are extreme. How many people camp without sleeping bags or tents or cars? How many people like actually sleep out in the woods? How many people actually try and run 20 kilometers in a day?
At least 50% of the panel.
Like,
if this panel is in any way representative, I mean, it's pretty.
Which it's not. I mean, this is all straight white men as a society. This doesn't exist in Canada.
No.
But I mean, I think part of it is that the desire to do something extreme. And I mean, this is still in a very controlled environment. It's still very safe. There is a lot of other experienced people around. There's a lot of staff making sure you don't get hurt. But you can also signal on the internet and on your social media, like, look at how I spent my weekend, because it does make for some pictures that are like, okay, that looks pretty badass because that dude is covered in mud and running up a hill, or that dude is getting shocked. There's a video of me, the very last obstacle, if you will. It's not really an obstacle. Is a low voltage shocking thing. It's just exposed wires hanging down.
Yeah.
And they blow in the wind, and you have to walk through them. And there's hundreds of them arrayed over the span of 20 yards.
Yeah, but that's a typical family night. That's a typical family night for you, though.
Well, it wasn't a taser. That's the thing. Like, if it touches you, you don't fall down and like convulse and can't move because all your muscles are trying to fire. Yeah. It's like getting pinched or like getting a bee sting. It kind of sucks, but it's irritating. It's not
like a cattle fence.
It's like a cattle. It's like the world's lowest T cattle fence.
So it's
what it's like?
Except the cattle fence is vertical and you're walking through it.
Do you know what it's like? The obstacle is a metaphor for being a straight white man trying to get through life without being called Hitler.
Literally Hitler. Yeah. So I got called literally the Terminator because they have someone at the stations encouraging people and egging them on and so forth. And by the end of the day, we were kind of on our own, and I got separated from Tyler and Rachel because they went to do the more challenging obstacle, and I decided to pick the new guy obstacle. So I arrived at the electroshock whatever ahead of them, and I didn't hear Tyler's plea for me to wait for the rest of my team. So I was just like, I'm going to keep walking. I can see the finish line. It's right there. I'm just going to walk through the electrifying thing, and I fully expect this is going to suck, but not as bad as getting tased. So I'm like, as long as it's not like getting tased, I can make it through this. If it's like getting tased, I'm pretty much screwed because I know I'm going to fall on the ground and can't move. So as soon as the first one hit me, I'm like, okay, that's not that bad. I'm just going to keep walking through this, which looks ridiculous in a video because it's just like that scene out of Terminator when Arnold's walking into the vat. Like, just no fucks given, straight ahead. Slow walk, straight ahead, not making eye contact with anyone. And I'm like, Tyler can hear me. I was like crying out in pain every time one of these things hit me. Which was
they were more like grunts of pain.
Yeah, it was. It's that vocal release to get like muscle through.
There's your Patreon right there.
Yeah. I was coming up behind you. I was coming up behind you yelling, wait, all three of us will go through together. And then you just entered the fray. And I was like, all right, whatever. So he was gone. And then I waited for Rachel. And then, some other guy was right there. And I was like, all right, the three of us will all run through together. Okay. And then I was like, 1, 2, 3. And then just, go for it. Took the psychotic approach of just wading through, getting shocked however many times. I just like to go full speed right into it, and then I inevitably will get shocked and fall on my ass, and then just get the hell out of there as quickly as I can, trying to get shocked as little as possible on the way. But Rachel, as it turned out, she chickened out, so she stayed there on the other side as I got out the other end and spun around and saw her still kind of hesitating. So none of our team went through at the same time. But she did go. She just didn't go when we were supposed to go. Yeah.
So overall, it was a good day. I don't regret doing it. It definitely. I think a lot of the people that were there were definitely there for the Instagram value. I think that they were doing it to like signal to their friends that they were tough enough to do this, which I think is kind of the point. On my end, there's a training opportunity there for me. I know, and this is why I go to the gym and I work out a couple of days a week, is I know I lack the upper body strength to do some of these things. There's not very often an opportunity in real life for me to have the urge to pull myself up over a wall. But it occurs to me after doing that if it ever came up that I needed to scale a wall, I should probably be able to do more than one pull-up at a time.
Yeah, basically. And then you gotta tackle everything. It's not like you're going to the gym in full kit, like you gotta go into things knowing that if you were ever doing this to save your life, you might be weighed down by like very, very vital equipment. So you need to kind of set the bar higher.
So Are we doing this next year? I think is the question.
That's
yeah, absolutely. You know, yeah, absolutely. I'm down for more. Unfortunately, I have to do 15 more before I get a different color headband, but I'm still down.
I'm in next time.
Those headbands are incredibly expensive.
Yeah, well, you know, it's pride is forever, man. Pain is temporary, pride is forever. Bing Crosby said that.
Pain was weakness leaving the body. Chesty Puller said that.
I said that. I said that. That's a Tyler original. I coined that expression.
I disagree. I also got talked into doing this with. I have colleagues in our Dallas office, so I'll be going to likely a Southern American state sometime next year to run this with a couple of guys that I work with because they thought it was very badass and they'd like to try it. So we're probably going to do it like as a work thing. You have any other thoughts on the Tough Mudder?
Yeah.
Only that there are other events that are a little bit less expensive that might be more appealing to certain people. Check them out because not everybody, like outside of the framework of an organized event, can motivate themselves to do stuff like that. Certainly, anybody with access to land to do it can just go hike all day, and at least the effect on the body, cardiovascular, your leg muscles, everything, carrying a load, your back, all that, the effects will be similar. But when it comes to like the camaraderie and the sense of accomplishment of having achieved something difficult, really like the mud and the cold water and everything, like those are all elements that you probably are not going to voluntarily impose upon yourself. So all these things kind of add to the difficulty, and at the end of the day, it makes it more satisfying. So it's something that everybody should look at. For Tough Mudder, they offer a Tough Mudder half. So you get to run half of it, and then quietly endure the shame for the rest of your life of not having done the full one. But at least that's something.
There was a surprising number of people at this that did the half event.
It's probably
it's
a
cool.
Good intro to it, right?
Sure, but I mean, just dive in, man. Like, unless you're like physically disabled, it's really your mind is the weakest part. That's holding you back.
Oh, I totally
you see
agree.
Like
watching
65, 70-year-old people doing this thing,
Yeah, but
watching some of the people that competed, the mental hurdle was huge for some of them because you could see that there was people that they hadn't resigned themselves to their fate, if you will. Like I looked at the majority of the obstacles, especially the last half of the course, is almost entirely individual skill. It's not like the first third or the first half where it relies more on you working with other people. So for the ones that were the personal skill, I just resigned myself to like, Arctic enema is going to suck. I'm going to hit water and I'm not going to be able to breathe. Go under the obstacle, get out of the water. But you could see people ahead of us that didn't have that mentality, that they hit the water and then maybe panicked isn't the right word, but they like froze up. So they spent longer in the water being cold than they needed to, right? Like,
you definitely see a lot of people that.
They just hadn't resigned themselves to their fate. So the mental thing I think with any, we'll call this a sport, is the same. Like, you just have to be in the right mental frame to be able to do these things. And then the physical part is obviously a big component, but most of this was not especially difficult.
Well, that's kind of a subjective term. Like, how'd you, you said you kind of went in there thinking like, no matter what, I can walk this and complete it. If you had imposed a different set of, goals on yourself, like you go into the next one saying, at no point will I drop below jogging speed, then the obstacles become substantially more difficult because you're in a different state of physical exhaustion. So.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
A lot of those obstacles become much more difficult, depending on how you're tackling it.
That is a fair assessment. I just mean that the majority of the obstacles, you literally could stand there and the people around you would push or pull you over it, and you could just be a sack of potatoes and someone else would deal with your ass.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
I
pretty
wasn't
much.
I wasn't there, and I have never been in one. I'd like to think I will try to go in the next one with you guys, but like, how often do you even get to cooperate with people, like physically anymore? Like if you're not in the construction business or something like that, you know what I mean? Like there's people banding together to accomplish a goal. It just doesn't occur anymore, really. We're also, you know, individualized.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so satisfying, right? You get that sense of camaraderie, and
you make the same argument about just how often do people do physical work anymore of any kind,
right? And I think that's why a lot of people were doing this event. Like other people that I know that were running this event that are not Tyler, who aren't tradesmen that work all day. And
I wouldn't
like by work, I mean
myself
like
as a tradesman.
Well, you have a very physically demanding job.
I'm like a tradesman wrangler.
a herder of trades.
Does this involve assless chaps and a lasso?
If you wanted to.
I might. I don't know. I look at the job that you do. I look at the job that you do and the construction work that you're involved in, and I look at that as someone who sits in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. I look at a job like that as being very physically demanding. And other people that I know that have done Tough Mudders tend to be more the sedentary office middle management people like myself. I don't know a lot of tradespeople who are like, yes, I would like to do this extra work on the weekend instead of sitting at home watching grass grow and drinking beer.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's got the Fight Club appeal, you know, like you go through your day, you know, you go to your job you hate, and you sit at a desk and you just have like a soulless existence, and like you're just numb to everything, and you just wake up one day and you're like, I need to do something real. I need to do something physically challenging. I want to bleed. I want to sweat. I want to get dirty, and I'm gonna have a good time doing it.
But that's I'll be honest, I was very opposed to doing this in the first place, but I'm glad that you talked me into doing it.
Yeah, but people normally have.
We'll see at the next one.
Yeah, normally people will take on a hobby that's the opposite of their day-to-day job. Like I'm purely digital, just like you, Andrew, and it's like my hobbies are like, you know, martial arts, shooting, and I've made bows and arrows and stuff like that. Like usually, if you're working digitally all day, then you will pick something physical like that you can like manipulate or do something with. So it's just kind of I agree with what you said with the contractors. Not usually those are the kind of guys you would think that would go home and just hit the PlayStation, you know.
Yeah, I can agree with that with Tim. Like my hobby kind of became my career and stopped being my hobby. Like I do none of it at home on the side or that kind of stuff anymore.
I don't know what some of the people who I work with do with their time, but I can say that I've never heard any of them say they're excited to go home and play PlayStation.
Well, I think the people that you work with, it's more likely they're excited to go sit in their truck and drink by themselves, but
and drink beer. Yes. No, I'm sure they all drink together, but they don't do that at home. They do that while on the job.
Naturally.
It's good work all if right, you get it.
You guys got anything else for Tough Mudder and this whole shenanigans?
Good on you guys. Good on you guys.
There was something I wanted to get in earlier, but I've forgotten, so I'll just let it go.
Yeah. Congrats to both you guys for finishing. Seriously, it's an impressive feat.
Yeah, it sucked in all the right ways.
It's certainly more impressive, like physical suck compared to the slow misery of a winter bug out.
Yeah, shivering for hours.
This only sucked for 6 hours.
Yeah. It's, you know, I guess maybe I'm like a sucker for punishment, but I enjoy the whole thing except one obstacle that wasn't present on this year's course. And I'm not going to get into detail about it. Just know that it involves no way to complete it without getting electrocuted. It sucks.
All right. Let's do that news thing that we do.
One that you spoke about, or
no, it's a different one. There is a way to do that end one without getting shocked. You can carefully weave through the lines if there's no wind, or you can get low enough and get under them.
Spirit of the game.
Oh,
Yeah, 30 seconds for what do you call it?
no one knows what
Failure
we're
to
talking
do
about.
right.
Let's just move on.
Failure
Yeah.
to do right.
Right.
But it reminded me
All
of just one quick movie quote that one of my favorite movie quotes was like Lawrence of Arabia. When Lawrence goes, he puts his hand up to that candle flame, and he like burns his hand, and then he just gets up and walks away, and like a private goes over there and he touches his hand to the candle. He goes, "Oh, that bloody hurts." And Lawrence goes, "Of course it does." And he goes, "So what's the trick then?" And Lawrence says, "The trick is not minding that it hurts." So
Didn't that actor die of AIDS?
I think so.
Yeah.
Many
I guess he
actors
didn't
died
mind
of
that it
AIDS.
hurt either.
No, if that was his hobby.
All right, let's do the news. First article is we'll have to do this quick because we're running behind on time. First article is from the Toronto Star. What's this group's name? The Association of Municipalities of Ontario wants to raise the HST by 1 percentage point to fix my roads. And they promptly got BTFO'd by the Ontario Finance Minister.
Because it's an election year.
Because it's an election year.
Yeah.
I can't believe that the Liberal government, because my first thought was, great, Wynn's going to jack up the HST by another point. Awesome.
Yeah, Wynn
And
bribes,
then I read the
bribes
article,
someone
like-
to suggest the HST gets put up a point.
And then
So
I'm like, oh,
shockingly,
they're not
So,
going
like,
to do something that's
shockingly,
going to
we
hurt
do
them
a
in the
study.
election.
yeah, we do a study and we determine that if we have more money, we can afford more stuff.
Yeah, remember when they
That's
proposed?
basically-
Remember when they brought in the GST just to pay off the federal debt, and then they paid off the federal
Yeah.
debt, and that's all they used that money for? It'll be just like that.
Yeah, it'll be just like that. You remember how we were paying off that war like 110 years ago with the income tax?
Yeah, once that war is done, we
Yeah.
can finally stop
It'll be
paying
just
income
like that.
tax.
It'll be
Yeah.
just like that.
Oh,
I am dismayed to learn that there is an association of municipalities of Ontario that lobbies the provincial government. The fact that the cities have their own lobbying arm, this upsets me greatly.
This is something I'm just learning about now, and I already fucking hate them.
Yeah, I don't like that like this exists. Like the cities already have people on city payroll that professionally get money from provincial and federal governments. Now, apparently, they also give money to a lobbyist organization to have a lobbyist get them money from provincial and federal governments. Because I guess having one handout wasn't enough; they needed two.
Two professional
Also,
hands.
Nobody looks at the fact that, hey, maybe we could, cut 1% out of our budget to free up the cash for the roads.
Well, and that's the thing I don't get is like they're talking about increasing the gas tax on like gasoline. It's like the gas tax on gasoline is already supposed to go to municipalities to pay for the roads. Like that is literally why we pay that extra 8 cents on every liter of gas. Literally for my roads.
Yeah, but we all talk about government
it's
spending and taxes and stuff like that. And when we take taxes that the government collects and we put that money into something called the Fraser Institute, and the Fraser Institute says that the best thing the government could do to help during a recession or to help the economy is to cut taxes. And then they don't cut taxes. So they tax you to pay for a think tank, and then you completely ignore what they do. That's the epitome of government right there.
So here's what I find interesting. So whenever they're looking for more money, oh, we don't have enough money, it's always they need more money for the roads and for the schools and things like that. Yet the same municipalities always seem to have enough money for, how much was it like $2 million on a bunch of I-beams that we talked about last week?
$500,000 on a bunch of I-beams, but they haven't finished building.
Okay, $500,000, whatever it was.
Yeah,
We'll see what the
and then
runover is.
$500,000 for the
Like
round
that
hills
kind of
that are going to
stuff.
be the other side. Yeah.
Like the wife was
$100,000
just
for rainbow crosswalks.
Right, like the wife was just talking about like a local municipality near us that just is spending $1.5 million to put LED globe streetlights in their downtowns so that it looks fancier. It is like
my
municipalities have
township
money
of
for that kind of stuff.
7,500 built a $7 million town hall.
Yeah, like seems to me like they have the money for that kind of stuff, but as soon as they need extra money, well, it's because of the roads. It's not like there's ever an issue with funding the non-essential stuff. It's always they need the extra money just for the essential stuff.
Public art and all expenses paid golf trips for municipal employees, those are fixed costs, man. Like, we can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Safe injection sites.
Gravy laden golden contracts with municipal employees. Those are fixed costs, man. There's nothing we can do about that. It's not like we can renegotiate. It's not like we can put a hiring freeze on already like unproductive workers.
Without government,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Without government, who would make?
They always talk about how
safe injection.
Talk about how like the fuck.
How's my internet? How's my internet? This is the first time I've live streamed from a new place.
Your internet is fine.
Yeah, they always talk about how like, the pension plan is going to go bankrupt, but they never talk about welfare going bankrupt.
Well, it can't go bankrupt.
Almost like
it's too big to fail.
Courting certain demographics.
Yeah, but like pension plans, people are actually paying into. Yet that's the one that's going to go bankrupt.
Those people aren't going to vote Liberal, and they're going to die soon. They might not even make it to the next election.
Yeah, but I was just joking about safe injection sites. What makes a safe injection site? Is it a place where they can inject drugs without the police coming in?
No,
I know a guy who runs his own gun business that has safe injection site stapled above his asshole.
All right, well, that's enough of that. Let's, I guess we have to do the, where's my button for this? We have to talk about global news. And what is Antifa? A quick primer on the far left group. Because I guess people don't know what Antifa is, and this is relevant for the next couple of stories that are coming up. So Global was kind enough to pen something. I'm not sure that I agree with it, but apparently Antifa is short for anti-fascist. And apparently there's some sort of a decentralized organization. They may have started in the Weimar Republic in Germany. I guess it doesn't actually say that in the article. They talk about it starting sometime in the 1800s or possibly in the 1920s and 30s in Germany, because they were battling the fascists in Nazi Germany and Mussolini's Italy. But I don't think that's entirely accurate.
Right. So
I don't think that's entirely accurate.
Decentralized, implying that they don't have like very, very centralized primary sources of funding, like George Soros or our own federal governments. Like I love reading garbage from the mainstream media. Some like oblivious dolt that didn't know these people existed 5 minutes ago is all of a sudden going to explain them to you. Antifa is not a new thing. Obviously, they do have, at least like the modern incarnation kind of dates back to at least the 60s. But, it's not like these people emerged overnight as a reaction to the election of Donald Trump. I actually got into a street brawl with these assholes when I was like 16 years old in Kitchener. They've always been a problem. They've always been shitty. In fact, there was a place in London where they occupied some like public housing. And the police like looked the other way when the Nazi skinheads went in there and beat them all up, because the cops knew that they were all dealing drugs out of that place, and they liked to see them get their asses kicked. These people have always been shitty. They've always been degenerate. They are literally every negative stereotype you've ever heard about, red anarchism. That is them in a nutshell. Are violent communist agitators. They are not freedom fighters. They're the opposite of freedom fighters.
Good. I think that adequately covers Antifa. Now we can discuss the next three. Two articles for sure. I think we'll leave the Trudeau thing for kind of its own topic. But the first one from the CBC. Far-right group claims victory after emerging from Quebec City parking garage. which is an entirely misleading title that we'll get into. And then related
Sure is.
from the Star, rally in Quebec turns violent when counter-protesters take aim at police. So these two dovetail together nicely for a myriad of reasons. I want to talk about Lamoute, I think is the right pronunciation, Lamoute. We might just call them the Wolves, because that's the English translation of the Quebec group's name. So they staged a rally that people may have heard of in Quebec last week. Apparently, they are racist demonstrators, but they're actually just, from what I understand, they're actually just protesting the Prime Minister and the Premier of Quebec allowing undocumented illegal refugees into the country and having the RCMP help carry their bags over the border while they do it. People that are immigrating illegally from the United States, where they are currently not under any sort of political persecution, but coming to Canada to claim asylum and refugee statuses.
Yeah.
So Lamoute staged a rally. Their feels. Well, and we kind of talked a little bit last week. We can get into this a little bit more, but a lot of the asylum seekers, there's like 7,000 people, just shy of 7,000 people a day crossing into Canada through the U.S.-Quebec border in order to claim asylum. The vast majority of them apparently are Haitian immigrants who are in the United States following a natural disaster in Haiti, where they're currently a protected class, although the Trump government is considering changing the class that these people fall into. So they're getting while the getting is good, and they're coming to Canada where the welfare checks are greener.
So first off, I think it's important to mention that the Canada-US has what's called the Safe Third Country Agreement. And basically, the Safe Third Country Agreement says that sort of the refugee process of one country will be honored by the other. So essentially, if you are brought into if you are a refugee and you enter the United States, you are part of the U.S. refugee system. You cannot then claim refugee status in Canada. And likewise, our Canadian Border Services will honor any agreement or any decision of the opposite. So if Canada says you are not a refugee, you cannot then try to go to the U.S. and claim refugee status. And same thing in the other way. So we have this agreement in place already that says all of these people are not refugees.
Right, which in the case of the Haitian illegal immigrants is entirely accurate, since they're currently living in the U.S. under a protected class. So how they think they can successfully come to Canada and petition for asylum status baffles me. Which I think is why Lamoute is having their protest, is they wanted to lock down the border and have the laws that we have in place be enforced by our federal police force.
Yeah, you can't count on them to do that.
Why they're having the rally.
So,
well, that's why they wanted to have this rally.
Yeah, and I mean this whole Lamoute. I mean, the CBC article. I mean, it's painting them as right-wing extremists kind of things. I don't know anything about Lamoute, and maybe they are.
I hope they are.
I'm just going by the article here, but from what I'm seeing, like in the CBC article, decrying what they call quote illegal immigration. Quote. Well, yes, this is illegal immigration. They're illegally walking across the border, so yeah, that would be correctly calling it illegal immigration. Lamoute's leaders advocate tighter border controls and a staunch defense of Quebec identity. And here's the quote. "We think the RCMP should be upholding the law, not carrying the suitcases of illegal immigrants," said Sylvain Bruyette, the group's chief spokesperson. So that's their demand? If that's their demand, saying that we believe that the RCMP should be upholding the law, this does not seem like an extremist belief to me.
An extremely sensible belief.
You go out there with a placard saying, "I believe the police should not be complicit in federal laws being broken," and that's cue Antifa. That's when they show up with Molotov cocktails and water balloons filled with bleach.
Well, okay,
that's today. That's modernity.
Yep.
That's the thing I want to get into with this is Lamoute went to go and have their protest, Lamont got held by the police in a parking garage because all of the counter demonstrations, which is the Antifa communists causing violence, showed up to have their counter protest, and they decided that the best course of action, instead of allowing Lamont to exercise their freedom of expression and hold a peaceful free speech rally, they decided it would be a good idea to start throwing things at the police. So clearly, Antifa is a very well-regulated, completely logical group of people, because why are you going to start throwing things at the police?
So, yeah, I mean, Antifa is violent. They've been violent in Antifa-only rallies. There's violence and shit getting broken and terrorist stuff going on. They everywhere they go, they just cause shit. They show up to cause shit.
Yeah.
So yes, in this case, yeah, Lemieux wasn't even there, and they were just throwing shit at the police. I think there was like a statement out asking them not to stop throwing like urine at the police officers. Like,
yeah. So as a result of their nonsense, the police declared that the counter protest was illegal and ordered them to disband, which they failed to do, and resulted in a little bit of police brutality and the arrest of some individuals in Quebec, which I think was entirely warranted. But of course, the media is pointing it out as the police were racist, because naturally they were only beating up the brown-looking Antifa guys. They weren't beating up the white-looking Antifa guys. Right? There's a particular individual that
are wearing stuff over their faces, so you can't identify who they are.
That's
right.
illegal.
That is another.
Are they doing that?
That is something that Antifa does frequently and is in violation of at least one of our federal laws, as well as a Quebec law, where they are not supposed to be able to hide their faces at public rallies.
Well, we have multiple
Antifa has
layers of the police not upholding the law then.
Well, and this is the thing, is these black bloc Antifa people that want to, I mean, the imagery that they're using is somewhat effective, to have them all in the same outfit with their faces covered. They can, if they weren't all very effeminate and had no musculature development, they would look like an intimidating group of people, except for the whole purple-haired transgenderism, gender dysphoria that the majority of their organization suffers from. They look ridiculous, but I see what they're trying to do.
Yeah, no, look,
trying to act as a unified front.
What makes them a formidable opponent is that they operate with impunity. They can do things. They can employ tactics that the right cannot. They have the tacit approval of the media. They have the tacit approval of the state, right? If the state's not coming down on them for obvious violations, then that's an implied approval. They will shut down, and there is the theory, which I'm sure you guys are already familiar with, that the Antifa operates basically as an arm of the state, as a kind of a way of creating a disturbance to give the state an excuse to shut down right-wing rallies.
Yes.
Right. So then they can say that they're acting in the interest of public safety, and therefore they're justified in suppressing the freedom of assembly and free speech rights of whoever has assembled to speak.
Yeah. And I think,
obviously they might just be useful idiots too, right? But
I expect it's a combination.
I'd say that I think that the individual Antifa person that's standing out there is likely just an individual idiot that is uneducated and uninformed about what they're doing. But yeah, I think that some of the inspiration behind it, you're right that it very well could be sort of more nefariously government sort of seeding the actions.
Yeah, I think there would be a few professional agitators in there that would guide some of the more.
That was one of the people who got arrested, was a professional agitator, the Jingi Singh guy, who's a Toronto-born Punjabi Canadian activist who now lives in Montreal. He was one of the people that the Sécurité Québec PQ guys arrested because he failed to comply with a dispersal order. The counter-protesters were told to go home, and he decided to egg people on and not do that, and now he's getting massive amounts of media attention because this is what this guy does. He's a professional activist. That's what he does. He gets paid to be an activist. And there's all kinds of pictures of him in the mainstream media about how the police are abusing him, and this is police brutality because they flexi-cuffed him and sat his ass on a curb.
Yeah, but I just wish they could follow the money. Like, I don't know, like there has to be like a forensic investigation, and you got to find out where the money came from, and just you got to stop these things. But again, that's assuming that they're not just a tool of the state, which I think they are.
The only way you can have free speech, the only way you can defend free speech is to defend the right of speech that you disagree with.
Absolutely.
There's no way to defend free speech of defending the sort of the ideology that you agree with. That's not defending free speech.
Didn't Boston just have 40,000 people turn out and they were saying it was against free speech?
I'm just stay with me here. So I mean, like, I don't know Lemieux. I don't know the Wolf Pack or whatever that. They could be shitbags. They could be complete assholes, and likely I could disagree with everything that they have to say. But they, no matter what, they still have the right to say it. They have the right to be shitbags, and as soon as you start trying to use the state to determine what can and cannot be said, you start introducing, it becomes very dangerous because the government then can control any criticism against themselves. So it's not a path you want to take.
This is something I just heard Christopher Cantwell state when he was talking to a Vice reporter. He was saying, you live in a country now where free speech can be squashed, it can be silenced through threats of political violence. Political violence now determines what is acceptable public discourse. How do you feel about that? Yeah, that's kind of where we are now. Now, guys, I got to bail. I got to head out. But just looking at the other topics you have in line here, Trudeau takes aim at racist rallies. Like I said before, if you're a straight white man just trying to preserve his own existence, you are a racist. Get used to it. There's nothing you can do to atone for your whiteness. Refugee claimants found in possession of child porn, of course, and they're probably still going to be granted status. And free speech pledge doesn't apply in U of T nationalist rally case. Cucks are going to cuck, and nobody should be surprised by that. So thanks for having me on, guys. Always a good time. I'll try and make the next one, hopefully, for the full show.
All right.
Thanks, Tyler.
See you Saturday.
All right. See ya. All right, let's. I want to go back in. Tyler kind of news cucked us on those, but that's good. I'm glad he got his points in while he could. The one thing with Lemieux that I want to point out and emphasize is that they feel that they made their point, and the way that they made their point was after the Quebec police cleared the protesters, they went and they held a silent demonstration. They marched up the street in silence and then dispersed.
And that's way more opportunity than everyone got in Charlottesville.
Well, look at that in contrast.
We're not touching Charlottesville.
No, I know.
Look at that in contrast with
at least like the right wing people got a chance to actually protest in Canada, which is surprising.
To literally walk up a street. They were allowed, after petitioning the government, they were granted the use of the commons to walk on. They didn't even get to exercise, they didn't attempt to exercise any freedom of speech. Not that we have freedom of speech as a constitutionally protected right in this country anyway, but they literally walked up the street, held their demonstration, and left. They didn't beat counter-protesters. They didn't throw things at the police. They didn't get their ass arrested and flexi-cuffed. This is the best possible form of protest, in my mind, between these two groups, because Lemieux wants the government and the federal police force to exercise the laws in our country the way that they're written. And in order to get that done, they held a silent march. People who didn't want them to speak decided to cause altercations with the police, throw missiles and urine at protesters and police officers. These are the two sides of the dichotomy: the people that want the laws enforced and the people that want more globalism.
Yeah, and one of them was all dressed with face shields and bullshit like that as well.
Yeah, but like Antifa, is the more they do this, I really hope we're coming near the end of this, because like they've declared November 4th a day of rioting.
The National Day of Violence in the United States.
Yeah, that has nothing to do, like, that's just violence for the sake of violence. This is like, I don't know. It's just
the left is violent, though.
Yeah, the left. Yeah, especially the extreme, like this Marxist leftist shit. And the more they do
communists.
This shit,
we're just going to call them communists. That's what they are.
Well, yeah, same thing. But like these commies, the more they do this shit, the more the centralists, like the centrists, will tire of it, and maybe even grow afraid. And I think they're going to push more people right, which is the natural reaction. But like Antifa has been active for like decades and decades and decades, you know, and they're only fueling the response, you know. So I think there's going to be an end in soon to this nonsense. But like, I don't know. You need a law with teeth.
I respectfully disagree, Tim. I think if anything, the holy crap, Gavin's here.
Is that Gavin?
I am coming live from Albania.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hey, Gavin.
We were just talking about what's going to happen
Gavin.
if the police don't do something about Antifa.
Yeah, we're talking about how Antifa is shitty.
Yeah, I will agree to that. I'm currently in a former communist country, and I was just out boozing in a neighborhood that was limited entirely to the president of the country, so a Communist Party member, that is now full of bars. So yay freedom and alcohol. So anyone that sports the communist flag like Antifa is shit and should not be allowed. So
I support that.
Yay freedom.
Yeah. Like I have a
sorry.
Let's nail it. Yep.
So the point that I was going to make there, Tim, is sort of counter to yours. I don't think that the Antifa is going to stop. I think you're right. They're going to drive a wedge between the centrist, normie, middle of the road voters and people on the very left and the very right, or at least the way the media classifies them as being left and the right. People that are communists and people that are literally Hitler.
So you think you're going like the best indicator of future is the present, and I'm thinking that it's time for a correction.
I agree. It is time for a correction, but I think this is going to get a lot more kinetic before somebody does something about Antifa, because I think that the way to stop these people is going to be to physically remove them.
Yeah, this is not going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be clean.
Yeah.
No,
let's put it this way.
I don't think it's going to be that we drop.
I say this: these people are never going to be convinced. You're never going to have an intellectual argument with them and convince them of your opinion.
No, you can't. That's why they throw bottles of urine at people. But I think the more that they do this, the more that groups like Lamut show up and hold their peaceful rallies and don't get arrested and don't cause a spectacle, and Antifa shows up to counter-protest them and throws things at the police and throws acid at other protesters and beats people with bike locks, the more they're going to divide people that are between those two sets of ideals. And eventually it's going to get to the point where some Antifa thug hits someone with a bike lock and gets shot. And then we get to have a violent altercation.
We mentioned this last week, but not yet this week. All of this, I mean, the violence against the police, Antifa showing up, this protest in Quebec, this is all a result of Trudeau trying to needle the U.S. by tweeting out, everybody's welcome in Canada, which has caused this massive rush of people trying to cross into Canada, thinking that Canada will just take anybody that crosses our border because our Prime Minister said so. A lot of this issue,
patently untrue, but
correct. A lot of the issue we're talking about, I mean, 7,000 people coming into walking across illegally into Quebec every month, at least this month, this could be resolved by our Prime Minister coming out and saying, we have immigration laws. If you are trying to claim refugee status from the United States, you will be rejected and sent back due to the safe third country agreement.
Unless you have
The laws are in place. These people will not get refugee status in Canada. You will be sent back. Like our prime minister finally came out and said a strong statement. Only just identifying what the laws currently are. These people will not or should not get refugee status in our country due to the laws in place.
There's a difference between should not.
Sorry, this is a very good segue that Marty has created. I want to transition into this article from the National Post. Trudeau takes aim at racist rallies and urges trust in immigration system. Sorry, Gavin, go ahead.
But no, like that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a big difference between should and would. Like, I agree.
So we don't know.
Country illegally should not be allowed into the country, but that's not what's happening.
Well, we don't know. I mean, right now they're just being dumped into like tent cities and the Olympic Stadium and things like that. Now,
yeah. So for
right now is an 11-year backlog on the system to process these requests.
So they'll be allowed to stay here for 11 years while they get processed. At which point,
in a tent city.
At which point they'll probably be like, "You've been here for 11 years. You may as well stay here."
Like,
well, okay. So I want to share the quote from Trudeau, because this is our cucky leader's position on illegal immigrants in our country. We are ensuring that our border services, that the RCMP, civil society, that support groups at different levels of government are all working together to ensure that Canadians can be confident in the integrity of our borders, in the strength and rigor of our immigration system. Meanwhile, we're allowing anyone that wants to cross the border into Quebec illegally, and the RCMP is literally there to help them as bellhops.
Yeah, they're handing out bottles of water and then checking to see if they have child porn on them and then letting them in anyways.
That's the next article.
Which we'll get
and
to.
Again, like that's. So this is another opportunity for Trudeau to say, you will be sent home. Like this is, and yes, we do have, we have a system in place, and that system is going to look and say, you're coming from the United States, you are not a refugee, and we will send you back. But the current backlog in our system is at 11 years, and that's only going to increase if the rate keeps increasing.
But that's not what he's saying.
We have an 11-year backlog, and what does Trudeau do to try to alleviate the backlog? He doesn't increase resources to try and get them processed faster. He creates another refugee city to handle the extra migrants coming in. Like, it's incredible that he is still not taking a stance on this and not doing anything to correct this issue.
Well, why would he do that when he could just import more and more and more and more people?
No, he can't even import them that fast, though, because they still can't process them. He's just saving face and trying to look happy.
Oh, yeah, until he changes the legislation.
That's exactly what it is.
Everybody is now officially a citizen. If you've been here more than 5 years while you're waiting, you're a citizen. You know that's coming next.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
That would not be a huge shock. I don't have anything else to say about this. He's out of touch. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's missing opportunities where he could be reinforcing law enforcement's position where they should actually enforce laws, or where we should actually screen people that are trying to enter the country so they don't do so illegally, or where we have an agreement with other countries where we're not a safe third country.
This is just the people that we're catching.
Yeah, you're right. These are the people walking right up to the RCMP. But what pisses me off about these guys is we're in an age now where if you have an accident at work, you can get charged for the ambulance ride to the hospital. There have been instances even in the last 15 years. This has been going on for a while now, where if you call 911 for some sort of nuisance fire or something like that, you get charged. You get charged for like fire, ambulance, and police. Like you can get that charged to you. So like these people who are just like going here and they're coming to Canada because right now, like our prime minister is to me, he's displaying weakness. He's saying, "Oh yeah, we'll take anyone." You know, at a time where Trump is you know, displaying like strength, he's going, "No, we're going to crack down on immigration and stuff like that." So these people are just playing musical chairs, and they're going to jump country. To the fact, like there was an instance, I was looking at some of the stuff today. There was a guy from Haiti originally. He was a Haitian, and he had lived in the U.S. for 17 years, and now he's coming in as a refugee. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
This is not what a refugee is.
Right. What Trudeau did, it was virtue signaling. Is he went and went,
in the highest order.
I believe what
Trump
you mean
is trying to make a strong, he's trying to crack down on illegal immigration, then I'm going to make this statement, and the world is going to fall all over this.
And it's going to work.
Everybody is welcome here in Canada. He doesn't understand the fact that there's, as the leader of this nation, there's consequences to those statements. So as soon as he says that, all of the people that are like you said, they're there for the free stuff, are going, our free stuff might be ending here now that there's a leader here that's going to take a strong stance on us. That guy over there is going to give us all the free stuff so we can continue on the payday. And so they're all heading north.
Oh yeah, head north to McGibbs, you know.
Yeah.
The welfare checks are greener. That's all it is. This is
an
opportunity to be exploited by, call it economic immigration.
That's a T-shirt there for Tim's Good T-shirts.
Actually, yes. Speaking of Tim's Good T-shirts, would now be a good time to do the contest in the Limerick? Are we
Not at all, but let's go for it.
I tell you, it dovetails right in here. I've kept it. No one knows what the Limerick is, but it's.
Yeah, go.
I feel like it's time.
I'm sure.
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, I mean, so a joint venture between Canadian Patriot Podcast and Tim's Good T-shirts. They're quite good, and I've launched a new shirt, which is the distressed Canadian flag. So it's for people who like want to be patriotic but are well aware of the economic state of our country. So it's you can check that out at timsgoodtshirts.ca. But here is the Limerick, and the contest is, if you can send in a recording of you reciting this, we will judge who sends in the best rendition of this Limerick, and whoever gives the best rendition of this Limerick will get a free T-shirt. Now, there's some listeners out there, and one of them is Benny. He's going, I never got my T-shirt from last time. So, Benny, do your best and work your magic and try to get me to save on shipping. Try to nail this one too, because Benny, we owe you a T-shirt from the last contest.
You may get two,
and here you might get two. So here it is for the new distressed Canadian flag T-shirt from Tim's Good T-shirts. This is the Patriotic Limerick of August 21st, 2017. Is everybody ready? I'm giddy.
I'm very ready.
Okay. What time is it there, Gavin?
It is 4:20 in the morning.
4:20. How many days are you going to be there?
I'm here until the 27th.
Oh my God! You know what you got to do? Because you're ahead in time, you've got to send us the 649 numbers.
I will do my best. I am living 6 hours in the future currently.
Fuck. We're going to be set, guys.
I'm a time traveler.
It all ends now.
We got this.
Thanks to your Albanian magic.
Yeah.
I have to say, Tim, I'm on your website right now. Distressed Canadian flag shirt looks pretty fucking awesome. I'm going to have to go and order one of these myself.
I've been there through the development process. It is badass. But
I can send you. I can save you on shipping. So here we go. Here's Patriotic Limerick, August 21st, 2017. There once was like 7,000 Haitians who were really trying my patience. They were not feeling merry because Trump is so scary. Now they're here on perma vacations.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like it.
That definitely segued in the middle of our news discussion. Just fine.
It's topical.
Yeah. It's very topical.
I'm
so
bringing
you too
limericks
can get a
back.
Tim's Good T-shirt.
Yeah.
Email us your patriotic limerick, or
how do we post it? Do we post that on the Facebook page?
Shirts.
You want to post that on the Facebook page?
You can post that on Facebook. That's fine.
Okay.
We'll put
And
something
people
in
can.
there. It'll be good.
So what are the rules to said contest? Can panelists also
We'll open
join
it
in
up.
on this one?
We'll open it up to panelists. Let's get some stiff
Nice.
competition. And all you listeners, just because we're upgrading our audio gear and stuff, doesn't mean. I just got a instant message from Numbers, who's a member of our right wing death squad. He says, "Perma vacations. I want to be a refugee."
Sorry, Numbers. You're not allowed.
We all do.
I just want a vacation.
Good point.
Someone has to pay. Someone has to pay for all this nonsense.
Yeah, if I can,
I mean, if Americans can claim refugee status, can Canadians claim refugee status?
Not if you're a cisgendered white man.
So, Andrew, if I send you that
I'm
limerick,
pretty
What
sure
if
that's
I
in the fine print.
identify as the opposite?
If you identify as the opposite, then yes.
That might work.
But seriously though, I'm calling in from
Oh,
third world.
all your
Romania.
tax dollars are coming my way, guys.
So nobody has an excuse not to enter this contest. So you should all do it.
look at me.
That's a good point.
I'm the refugee now.
Yeah.
More news stories real quick. We already kind of touched on this one. Global news. Refugee claimants found in possession of child porn at Quebec border. Because when you let 7,000 people into your country, you want to make sure their porn looks real good.
Yeah. And
Yep.
by good we mean with lots of underage people, or without that?
I don't know. Why are we not turning these people around at the border? Why are we letting people like this into the country?
Yeah, you're gonna want that child porn for when you immigrate to Canada.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's an isolated case.
No, there's multiple. Yeah.
Yeah. It's enough of an
It's
issue
5
that it's
cases
an issue.
in 2 months.
Yeah.
It's 5 out of 7,000. That is not an acceptable figure.
0 out of however
So-
many would be acceptable. Any.
And
out
again,
of
now,
any number.
there's. I think we can all agree, if someone is in possession of child pornography or is trafficking child pornography across international borders, they're possibly somebody we do not want in this country. And yet, when you read this article,
we don't want.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit
Right.
stronger than that and say, yeah, absolutely not.
well, I
Hard no.
went light for a reason, because if you read this article, the RCMP, while seizing child pornography from an asylum seeker, they make the decision as to whether or not they lay charges, and clearly they've made the decision in some cases to not lay charges. And CBSA must accept that decision and process their claim.
Yeah, no.
So even though they have child pornography as they're crossing this international border, our RCMP seizes the child pornography but does not press with an investigation. So CBSA must process them as a standard person that with no criminal record type of thing.
No, the way it should work is that if they get found, guilty of having it, they get prosecuted and sent to jail. If they get found not
Get 'em outta
guilty,
here.
they just don't get let into the country. And by guilty and found to go to jail, I mean they just shot on the spot. Because that's not acceptable.
These people need to be physically removed.
Well, or just not let into the country.
So-
but, if it's debatable
so here's
for whatever
An
reason,
insult to
just-
taxpayer. As soon as they're found at the border with child pornography, you get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Go back where you came from. We're alerting the authorities. Let's just cut the cost to Canadian taxpayers.
Yeah.
Hardworking, innocent, decent people.
yeah, absolutely.
No, I disagree.
So it's-
Okay, as long
So
as you
I think
turn it into
there's
some
a-
sort of military exercise,
Yeah. Yeah.
then we can write it off.
So I think there's a point here that's worth mentioning here is that on a CBSA document, suggests that Somalis with criminal records who fear being deported by the U.S. have been crossing illegally into Canada. So there's
what is this fear of being deported in the U.S. If you're in the United States,
because they have criminal records.
Yeah, how did they get here?
Well, maybe you shouldn't be a criminal then. Like maybe being a criminal was a poor life choice, and there are consequences that need to be suffered for that to discourage you from making more poor decisions in life.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
But here's the thing. They have criminal records, and so they fear being deported. And our prime minister says, we welcome everyone. Everyone can stay here. We don't judge.
Nope.
And so they're going, I'm going to run there. That's my refugee. So these are the type of people we get. We're getting a disproportionate number of criminals of, like, again, this is not a one-off case where they found child pornography. We have multiple cases of child pornography, some of which the RCMP has decided to charge, others not. In the meantime, CBSA has to accept all of these, process the claims of these people that the RCMP decides, well, yes, they had child pornography, but not enough, or I don't know what the criteria is of the child pornography as to whether or not they decide to lay charges or not.
Yeah, anything more than zero.
A megabyte limit?
Yeah, anything more than zero, too much.
No. Exactly.
I would think so.
Is enough.
But what is our RCMP using as a limit? Like, I mean, is it like a data file, like file size? Like if it's more than so many megabytes, then it's chargeable.
What if it's print media though? That doesn't take up any megabytes.
If you have 10 pounds worth, that's a lot.
What if it's what if it's a child pornography? What if it's a child pornography novel, like Ben Levin, the former Minister of Education for Ontario, wrote?
Or a copy of Lolita.
Is that the one with Jeremy Irons?
I think so. Maybe I don't know.
Or the original.
What if it's a copy of the Ontario sexual education curriculum?
Yeah, good call, Marty. Good call. Because fisting of minors, I believe, is a topic.
You'll never know if you're gonna like it. Take a fist. Take a fist. That's why they make petroleum jelly. Don't knock it before you try it.
That may be the next contest is singing that limerick.
My daughter's 11, and I meant to sit down because I was talking about this. I said blah blah blah, and I was mentioning the stuff I talked about to my wife, and she's just like, my wife's like, she already took the curriculum, and excuse me. It's like, 'cause I gotta sit down and see exactly what she got out of the curriculum. But
why do you need some fisting tips? You're hoping she got them?
You know me, I'm a fisting perfectionist.
That's frightening. Okay, I think we're going to leave the news there. I feel like we're going to need some more time to talk about the UT thing with Sheer, because that's going to deserve some commentary.
No, that's pretty quick. That'll be pretty quick.
Yeah, I got nothing to say.
Let's finish it.
You guys can get through it quickly. Okay, coming to us from the CBC, Conservative leaders' free speech pledge wouldn't apply to U of T nationalist rally case. So apparently Andrew Scheer made some comments while he was running for the leadership bid of the Conservative Party, outlining that everyone has the right to the freedom of speech, and apparently now we're talking that back a little bit.
Yeah.
And under certain circumstances, maybe you don't get freedom of speech. Like if you're pro-nationalist and you're trying to hold a rally at University of Toronto following a violent protest in the United States.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in Canada, we don't have free speech to begin with, so
no. So
we don't have a codified.
I'll say exactly what happened here. This is, in my opinion, what happened here is he definitely was like pro freedom of speech. Everyone has free. Like universities should not be allowed to censor and only allow left wing topics. Like right wing has right leaning or right or conservative is valid for discussion on campuses, and therefore, universities should not be allowed to make that happen. essentially then what happened in the United States last week happened, and it would have been political suicide for him to go, yep, we would have protected their right to have their Nazi rally here in Canada. It would have been, and so he,
Right.
like, honestly, our media would have completely destroyed him if he said, yeah, I think they should have had a right to have their thing here. And so he backpedaled on it. He cucked on it. Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't disagree with you, Marty, that it would have been a massive political issue for him to back what he had originally said when the media puts it in the context of Nazis. But it doesn't matter what the group is or what the rally is about or what the people are. Literally anyone to the right of Che Guevara is literally Hitler, which baffles me greatly because the leftists seem to keep forget this. Like the communists in Antifa seem to keep forgetting this. Nazis is National Socialists. Socialists are on the left side of the spectrum. They are not, in fact, extremely right-wing. I'm not sure how the media and Antifa keep using this topic.
Yeah, I actually believe that it was
communists, which just killed more people than any other ideology. But
no.
Yeah, Stalin killed way more people than Hitler allegedly did.
Yeah, communists killed more than the National Socialists, at least over time. But
many multiple times. Like if you,
it doesn't matter over which period of time you look at. Just looking at World War II, Stalin versus Hitler. Stalin's body count way bigger, way bigger.
That it's the National Socialist. It's the National Socialist Workers' Party. I mean, that right there
still sounds incredibly left.
Yeah, that sounds even more left.
That regardless of what group this was for, literally anyone to the right of Che Guevara would be Hitler. So you can't have free speech for Nazis.
Wearing a Che shirt.
Going back to this article, though, Scheer. Definitely, he had to backpedal to try to basically save what, like, yes, the media is and the left are saying everything is Hitler. He elected to backpedal rather than take a hard stance and say, no, everything is free speech.
Well, and given like our
politically, what do you guys think?
Given our definition of free speech, he has got a lot of leeway in that because anything that's considered hate speech is not considered free speech. So he had a lot of leeway in what he could have done with that, in my opinion. You know, like having a free speech rally is one thing, having a hate speech rally is another, according to Canadian law, because we're looking at Canadian law. That those are different things, as opposed to like the United States, where they have, you know, First Amendment rights that basically protect anything that you say for the most part.
But that's the thing. Like I find myself like fairly envious of the First Amendment rights that the Americans have. Like we have like M103 and hate speech laws and stuff here in Canada, and I'm just like there's certain amount, like if I get like goofy and have a couple of beer, like I could be convicted of hate speech. It's just absurd. You know, it's just like I really don't know. Like it's just, to me, it's disappointing. It's kind of like, like Andrew Scheer goes and he's like, you know, with the free speech pledge. So whoa, I didn't mean that free.
Well, and that's my problem. So,
exactly. Yeah.
So when all you lovely gentlemen were podcasting last week, I was away at camp, and I was drunkenly sitting around a campfire having a discussion with a gentleman about free speech and hate speech laws and everything in Canada, and he was not particularly impressed with my take on the whole thing, in that I don't believe in hate speech laws because I believe in free speech, which is you have the right to say whatever stupid thing that you want to say, and I'd rather you be able to say it so that I can judge you by the quality of your character. And mostly because those things are not sort of levied equally, in that, you know, you get a lot of people that will say one thing about a certain group, but if you say the exact opposite thing, you get a fine or put in jail. if hate speech laws were enforced equally across the board, at least then they would be fair. But that's not the case in Canada or anywhere else, it seems, that has those in place. In that, you can say any hateful thing about, cisgendered hetero white men, and it's okay. But
No,
if you
white
change
men are
any,
the last group that you can discriminate against legally. If you
it,
say anything about white men, it won't be taken the
yeah,
same as if you said it about any other visibly different group.
yeah, if you change any one of those, it doesn't matter which one, but any one of those, and all of a sudden it's okay. Or it's not okay. You can, you'll get fined because it's like, oh, if you say something about somebody that's gay, oh, that's hate speech. You say something about somebody that's not cisgender, that's hate speech. You say something about somebody that's not, you know, waspy, that's hate speech. You say something, like it's getting ridiculous. Like if it's not okay to say it about one group and it's considered hate speech, it doesn't matter what group you put in that, that's still hate speech. And that's not what's happening, right? And that's the frustrating part.
So I'm serious. I'm curious to hear you guys' opinions, though. Now he's made definitely he had made a I think that free speech should be protected on campuses and things like that. As Gavin said, the way the laws are in Canada, free speech and hate speech are different things. So now he's come out and said, yes, a national socialist or nationalist rally would not be protected under his stance of free speech on campuses kind of thing.
Then he has no stance on free speech on campuses. You don't.
Right. I think this is a backpedal on his earlier comment. But do you think that backpedal is good politically or bad politically?
It's overall going to allow him to appeal to a few more centrists. Overall, it's going to alienate the people that are extremely right-wing conservatives. These are people that will now not vote where they could have voted for Scheer because they're going to lose confidence in him. And I think he's losing a bigger core group of conservative voters than he is bringing over fence-sitting, middle-of-the-road people. Because
I don't know.
That's what I'm not certain
of. I think those people
I don't have it.
So hardcore right wing are going to vote for him anyways because they will not vote anyone else, and they will not.
And that's clearly what he's banking on, I'd say.
You're likely right in that, and this is definitely a calculated political maneuver. As an aside for this topic of conversation, when did nationalism become a problem in our country? What's wrong with being Canadian?
We also need to differentiate between Canadian nationalism and what the media has dubbed white nationalism, because those are different things. There's nothing wrong with being proud of the country that you were from, regardless of your race, religion, and everything else, and being superficially proud of the fact that you happen to be white and Canadian. Again, not that there's necessarily anything wrong with being those things, but we should be able to be.
I'm a proud black man, said the black man. I'm a proud Asian man, said the Asian man. I'm a proud white man, said the racist.
Yeah, we should be, allowed to be equally as proud as anyone else is.
We have gay pride parades, but the white pride is Nazis.
Yeah, and certainly to anyone listening,
white pride parades are literally Nazi marches.
Yeah, and to be fair, we do need to differentiate between something that is, I am proud of my background and heritage, and I'm white, therefore I am better than everybody.
Correct. Exactly. Superiority is where it becomes an issue.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. It's just there's a couple of things you guys have touched on, but what's going on is we're in a state of time where and everyone who listens to this, you can do that. You go to Wikipedia and you look up Latino pride, you look up Black pride, and then you look up white pride. And in the first sentence, white pride is associated with Nazism. We are in a position where the media and for whoever is guiding them, we are not allowed to be proud. It's wrong to be proud. It's just like, but it's just like there's like all in all, like for me, like I'm a behaviorist, and it's just like I would rather have like a decent like black person or Jewish person or Asian person than like there's it's absurd like to think like I don't just because someone's white, I do not give them a pass. Like I drive to work and I see someone staggering around with one shoe or something like that, and it's just like if they're white, I just go like, what a piece of shit, you know? Like it's just like whiteness is not the end all and be all.
No, not at all. It's so superficial.
Yeah, and Sheer, I mean, I'd say this about Sheer. I think this entire article is again was intended as a trap for him. The fact that this question was asked of him, I think, was intended to be a political trap to find things that they could then use against him. And I agree with Tyler. He cucked on his stance on this, but I think he ultimately sidestepped this trap, and I think he's done that a few times now, where like sort of the leftist media has tried to trap him and corner him onto issues, and he's successfully sidestepped it, which shows that he has sort of a good political defensiveness, and what I haven't seen from him yet, which is a strong offense. Politically, I haven't seen him go after anything really yet.
He seems to have good instincts for stepping out of like shitty situations that the media creates, but we still have the majority of the media, and that's out to get the right, and it's just like that's the thing with left and the thing with the media and the thing with Antifa is they will always go after the most right, and they're not even going after the most right, but right now like there's like conservatives, I don't even know how many levels there are between that. And then there's like white supremacists and Nazis and stuff like that. If you remove the Nazis, the worst thing is the white supremacists. And eventually you remove enough layers on the right, and then just standard conservatives are still going to be the devil. They're still going to be the Nazi, no matter what. Correct. No matter what happens.
This goes back to part of the conversation that we were having about Antifa earlier, is it really doesn't matter how moderate or how centrist of a conservative or any other part of the political spectrum you are. If you're anywhere to what they feel, not even what they can articulate or prove, but what they feel is to their right, you are literally Hitler.
Che Guevara
fascist,
would be a
racist
Nazi.
Yeah, if you don't own a Che Guevara T-shirt, you are literally Hitler.
And if you want to counter signal against assholes who wear Che Guevara shirts, then I suggest you go to timsgoodtshirts.ca and get yourself a Harambe Warrior T-shirt.
Agreed.
Good plug, Tim. Well done.
I know a guy on the panel who owns one. He's a good guy. He winter camps.
All right. We have no rapid fire feedback. We should probably do Philpott reports at some point in the future again, because I kind of miss those. I don't have anything else. Do you guys have any other closing comments before we wrap it up?
Do you really miss them, though?
Well, no. The problem is I just have stopped including them because they make me very angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but angry
Andrew is we're like an hour over.
Angry Andrew is good though.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up. Gavin, where can everybody find you?
You can, for the rest of the week at least, find me physically in Albania. Otherwise, you can find me on the internet at Instagram at _urbex_GTA. Sorry, I've been having several beverages this evening. And for most of the day. Otherwise, you can find me on the Facebooks with the Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders.
Hang in there. Bacon and eggs are coming.
Marty, where can everybody find the podcast?
You can visit us at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
I'm not sure if that's a question.
Is that what you're looking for?
I'm Ron Burgundy.
I'll no, we're not
Feedback
doing
at
that.
CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
We'll get hate mail if we do that.
Is that what you want?
I'll take it.
Okay, send us your hate mail there. But what do you want from me? There's nothing in the show notes for this.
Well, normally this is the part of the show where we ask people where they can find you on the internet, but you don't have that, so we ask you where they can
Yes,
find
but
the
you
podcast.
didn't ask me where you could find me, which is nowhere. You asked me where to find the podcast, and that changed the
Right,
entire.
because we know that. I'm sorry that I confused you. I deeply regret my line of questioning.
Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Yeah,
So
get some
Just out of
feedback.
curiosity, is SheaGuevara.ca available? Because you may be able to find the podcast there in future.
That would be good.
Oh, I'm tempted to spend
No
$10
way.
and buy that.
There's no way.
Somebody get the intern on that. Tim, where can everybody find you? Plug it
Find me
again.
at Tim's
Plug it
Good
again.
T-shirts. Tim'sGoodTshirts.ca. 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 Or you can find me at Facebook.com/Tim'sGoodTshirts. Buy a shirt.
You got to fire the dude that does your jingles.
Yeah, that guy is an asshole. That guy's an asshole.
All right. As always, my name is Andrew. You can find me at RagnarokTactical.ca. Come buy some bandages or take a pistol course. Shoot some guns or plug some holes or do something.
Dear friends, would you like the space between your holes to be smaller than the space between your holes is right now? Take a Ragnarok course, perhaps.
Oh, actually, you know what? This is as good an opportunity as any. There is a pistol operator course. It'll be at Guelph Rod and Gun Club, September the 9th. The cost is $200 after your mandatory government theft. 300 rounds. We're shooting steel. You'll get to pistol a little bit better than you did before. If nothing else, you get a shiny piece of paper with your name on it that says you passed. And a very nice patch made in China. Probably doesn't contain lead. Probably.
Or cadmium.
There'll be like some cast-off lead from all the bullets you've been shooting, but that
That's
doesn't.
Rojas.
No.
You spent $800 on that pistol. You better put some rounds through that. Take a Ragnarok course. Get off your ass.
For realsies.
Be careful of those Glocks, though. They'll just go off on their own in a holster.
Ooh, shit. So will SIGs. SIGs will go off if you drop them.
Yeah, so don't drop your gun.
Oh, my God. Oh, God.
You got to make sure your gun looks real good in case it goes off when you holster it.
Yeah.
I think the solution here is 1911s for everyone.
Well, you don't want any squib rounds, though.
No. All right. What else we? Oh, we have to apologize to Rodgill Tack. I'm sorry we couldn't fit you on the show tonight. Obviously, we're way over on time. I'll try and fix it in post.
I blame myself.
Yeah. No, I'm.
Yeah, it was the limerick that took up all his time.
Yeah.
There once was a man named Giltaka. One day.
Out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.